is in last place in the standings, he's going to roast me for being 0-1 because he might not get this opportunity again. I'm happy the game was low scoring. I'm happy the game was low scoring because I'm playing a 49. I'm playing a fantasy owner. I'm playing Heath Berman in fantasy, the defending league champion, and he's got Kittle on his team. He's got Garendo on his team, and Niners offense just laid an egg. So I feel confident, but I can't get cocky.
Not surprising. You got the Rams that were surging, and the 49ers.
He had Cooper Kupp on his team, too. Cooper Kupp laid a goose egg. 0 points. Cooper Kupp's probably worst game of the year.
They're still doing a great job, and the 49ers are still floundering. So, I mean, it's not the big deal.
The 49ers are like the red fish in the Dr. Seuss book. The doctor's one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, except the red fish is dying. It got out of the aquarium. It's jumping all over the place, and it's trying to get back into the water to breathe. And that red fish is just the 49ers offense. The blue fish, the Rams, prevails. But no more Dr. Seuss riddles. Let's move on to Ravens Giants. I'm sure you'd rather hear us talk about the Ravens and Tommy DeVito than Dr. Seuss riddles. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, Tommy DeVito went to a pizza shop. When Daniel Jones got benched, he dropped his mop. He picked up the playbook. Then he realized it was time to cook. That was horrible, but anyway, Ravens Giants. The Ravens are favored by 16.5. I love the Ravens in this one. 31-13. Dex Lawrence is injured. Deontay Banks' first game back from an injury, and I just don't think the Giants have the personnel to contain the Ravens. Ravens are one of our locks in the site, too, by the way. Anything you want to say about this game that needs to be said? Because I feel like you don't want to waste any more time on this game.
Not really.
The point spread at 16.5 is the highest all year. 92% of the public's betting on the Ravens. So this could be a backdoor cover where the Giants cover the spread and the Ravens underachieve, but the Ravens still win because the Giants are that putrid.
This isn't the last game. This is a new game, and it's still just as bad. So no, I have no.
All right. Dallas versus the Panthers. I've got Chuba Hubbard and Heath has Rico Dowdle. This is going to be a very entertaining game because if Dowdle goes off and Hubbard struggles, I lose. Hubbard goes off again like he did against the Eagles. Had a good game against the Eagles. 100 total yards against the Eagles, but Bryce Young couldn't deliver the win in Philly. But Bryce Young's been better at home than he has on the road. You look at what he did against Baker in overtime. The Chiefs only lost to the Chiefs by 1 score. Bryce Young has looked a lot better at Bank of America Stadium. His offensive line's good. I mean, Cade Mays has came into his own at center. They have Leggett, they have Jalen Coker, and they have Thielen. And last week, Thielen was the number 2, David Moore was the 3, and Coker was the 4. But at one point, Coker came in, and he was pushing Leggett for reps. But then he kind of cooled off. I don't know what's happening, but they do have a variety of weapons. They have Ian Thomas, Tommy Tremble, and Jatavian Sanders. Thomas got put on IR, and Tremble and Sanders are splitting the reps. There's a little bit of unpredictability in this offense. Remember when the Buccaneers had Vincent Jackson before he died and Mike Evans in his rookie deal with Winston? That made the Buccaneers offense unpredictable, Joey, because at the time, Evans was still the guy on the rise, and Vincent Jackson was considered the star receiver at the time, you know? And then Evans became the guy, and Godwin became the complimentary player. And then they got Brady, and the rest is history. But, you know, that's the thing you got to account for with receivers. The receivers that complement each other well, that have kind of an unpredictable offense, they're the most dangerous offenses. I'll break that down a little bit further when we get to the Browns game, but I like the Panthers. Joey likes the Panthers. Everybody You, me, and Bantle took the Panthers. The rest of the staff's picking the Cowboys on the road. Oren, Tracy, Wes, and Kerm all have stars. And Jason Bantle suggested that we add the official records for every person on the site. That's a change we're going to put on the site next year because it's a great suggestion. It's just like, because all we do is we copy the weekly results for each person below each game. And it's a good idea. It's just, I didn't have enough time this year to implement it. But next summer, boom, we're putting that in. Because every year we lose a staff writer or two, we make a tweak or change to the site. That's a good suggestion. Tracy agreed. We're going to implement that next year. I just don't like implementing changes during the season. I'll do it in the off season. I will, but not during the season. I'm very picky about that. I think that's the drawback to my autism, but it's a good suggestion, and it's going to be implemented next year. So you don't have to read all these lengthy pick'em write-ups. You can just see the yearly records, and we can use another segment of the site for whatever. Or we can promote sponsored content or whatever. You can email me at chris@draftutopia.com if you got sponsored content. Now we're getting to the game Joey cares the most about. Chiefs and Browns in Cleveland. And let me tell you guys, I think the Chiefs are going to win, but the Browns are going to lead in the 2-minute warning. 28-23, Kelsey with a game-winning touchdown at the end of the game to break Tony Gonzalez's record. And everybody took the Chiefs except Kerm and Joey. And for everybody saying Kerm doesn't know what he's doing, Kerm is ahead of Bantle. Kerm has a 2 or 3 game lead on Wes and Bantle. I'll pull up the prediction standings on the year quickly here. Kerm is now 144-60 on the year. Bantle and Wes are 144-62. 144-60 on the year. Kerm is 7th. I think Kerm is 7th in the country here. Yes, Kerm is 144-60. I believe that 150-58, that is 208 games. So 144-64 is, so that means Wes and Bantle have 66 losses, not 62. Yeah. So that is a phone error. That's not a website error. That's a phone error. Good. Don't have to go through all the bullshit. All right. But Kerm is 7th in the country. Bantle and Wes are 13th. I am 33rd. I am no longer in the top 32. Tracy's 43rd, Oren's 52nd, and Joey is 56th out of 90. So even though he's in the bottom tier, he's not 56 out of 80. He's 56 out of 90. So, and he did have a good record last week at 9-4. So he's making a slow comeback. But let's talk Browns-Chiefs. Because the Browns, that unpredictability, when Tillman and Judy are in the lineup, the Browns have a little bit of unpredictability in the passing game. Kind of like Winston during his first few years with the Bucs when they had Jackson and Evans. Don't you agree? That unpredictability is what makes Winston dangerous.
It's not only the unpredictability, it's the ability
spontaneity.
Of Winston to develop wide receivers. You can say what you want to about it and his interceptions, but if you are capable of running routes correctly and getting in the right place at the right time, he will find you eventually. He will put the ball where it needs to be, and he will make you believe if you just run everything correctly, he's going to put it where it needs to be.
And there is far more admiration and respect for Winston than there is Watson. I mean, against the Steelers, I think one of the offensive linemen gave Winston a pat on the back. So there is far more admiration for Winston than there was Watson. And even a casual fan can pick up on that. But that's not the point.
Winston puts the Browns in position to win. Now, we can talk about Hopkins all we need to, which, let's face it, the Browns might not have won last week, but if Hopkins makes 2 field goals, it's definitely a lot more compelling than, and changes some game plans.
The turnovers and the missed field goals, the special teams blunder and the field goal are the biggest reason the Steelers blew out the Browns.
Yeah,
That's basically Joey's entire argument.
Yeah, because they're what is the game plan?
And Winston's hot and cold, like the song by Katy Perry. 1 week, 1 or 2 weeks, whenever Winston has 2 cold games in a row, he usually rebounds with a hot game the third game. And this is a home game for Cleveland. So looking at that pattern, this feels like a game where Winston could win the turnover battle against Mahomes, but still lose because Mahomes has just been that clutch. And maybe the Chiefs' luck runs out. I had the Browns winning this game back in April, and they very well may win this. I'm taking the Chiefs because of Kelsey's history in Cleveland. That's the only reason. If Zadarius Smith is still on the Browns, I'm picking Cleveland.
Chris. I'm going to put my coaching hat on here. Is it still a Jameis Winston chuck that thing down the field? If it's a 3-point game?
The Chiefs are a man coverage team. This is what... See, the Ravens are a zone coverage team. The Chargers are a zone coverage team. The Chiefs are a man coverage.
That doesn't...
It does matter. It doesn't change the
scenario,
scenario, but it does matter. Because...
It does matter, but it doesn't change the scenario.
Okay. There we go. We agree.
If there is a situation where it's 13-13, the Chiefs score a touchdown, and it is now
this game's gonna go one of 2 ways. There's one of 2 scenarios.
Just let me finish the scenario here. And the Browns missed a field goal early, and it's still 13-13. If they make that field goal, it's 16-13. Chiefs score a touchdown. Another field goal comes up. Now it's 20-19. Except for that field goal was missed. If they make that field goal and it's 2019, how does that change the game plan? Are they still chucking it with Watson? Or are they still chucking with Winston? Or are they playing it and they're saying, hey, Nick, why don't you get us some yards? Why don't you keep it close?
The thing is, the Chiefs have the number 3 run defense. The Chiefs have the number 3 run defense, and Wharton took the D-tackle job. It does. I'm sorry. That matters in the context of things. Long-term picture, that matters. It matters.
It matters in the statistical world, but
it matters from an analytics standpoint. It matters. That's what I'm getting at. And I'm not saying. I think there's 2 scenarios. There's 2 scenarios. Scenario A: the Browns lead at the. I've got a fictional scenario where the Browns win too. Can I pitch you both of my fictional scenarios? Because I think this is going to be a close game. I pitched you the first scenario where the Chiefs win. They trail the Browns the 2-minute warning, 23-21. Mahomes throws a touchdown to Kelsey. Kelsey breaks Gonzalez's record in his hometown, Cleveland, 28-23. Second scenario I'm going to pitch you is a wild one. Chiefs go ahead 20-13. The Browns get a touchdown at the last second to David Njoku, and they decide to go for 2. And Nick Chubb gets the 2-point conversion, and that's how the Browns beat the Chiefs. The Browns say, fuck it, we're going for 2 because we're out of the playoffs, and they win. That's the second scenario where the Browns win. That's my second scenario where the Browns win. See? I had a second scenario. You didn't think I had that, but I did. I surprised you.
Stefanski will say go for 2. He will say go for 2 on, it doesn't matter if he's in the playoffs or not. He will say go for 2 if he feels like it. So I'll give you that. But the fact that you dismissed the run defensive rankings actually matter.
They do. The Chiefs have the healthier depth chart. They have 0 season-ending injuries, and the Browns have a ton of season-ending injuries. So that matters. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying the injury, the fact that the Chiefs are healthier, and the fact that the Chiefs have a top 3 run defense matters, and you're saying it doesn't.
If you're a coach, it doesn't matter. If you're a coach, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because if you're a coach, you have to overcome the hand you're dealt. Part of coaching is overcoming the hand you're dealt.
Chris, you're just looking at it from.
I am. I'm looking at it from a depth chart analytics standpoint, but here's the thing. If you're a coach, analytics are shit. If you're a coach, your goal is to win. The goal of coaching is to win, regardless of the hand you're dealt. That is.
I give you 25 rushes. Doesn't matter the outcome. But if you go back into a pass protection when I'm still rushing the ball and you think I'm going to pass it and I rush it, guess what? That's a 15, 20, 25-yard gain. Simply because you have not.
Well, let me pull up the time of possession rankings, because this is going to matter.
Chris, you're putting everything once again into a statistical situation when I'm just simply trying to give you a coaching standpoint.
Coaching matters, but I feel like time of possession is an important detail.
It doesn't to you because you're trying to analyze everything when it's...
Yes, I love to analyze stuff.
And it's very simple, Chris. It's very simple. It's very simple. You keep running the ball, the defense has to account for it. They have to bring the defense up. Even if you're not successful at it,
basically,
look at the threat of a run.
May I ask you a question when you're done speaking?
Yes.
Why don't you continue until it's my turn to speak? Because I do have a question to ask.
Okay, ask the question, because right now
all right.
I was done right there.
All right, my question to you is, do you believe that either team can tire out if you run the ball enough? Because both these teams are in the top 11 in time of possession. The Chiefs are Chiefs are 5th, but the Browns are 11th. And the Chiefs are only 57 seconds better than the Browns. 31-35 versus 30-38. They are only 57 seconds better than the Browns in time of possession. Now,
and Chris, that is an amazing question, and
it's amazing stat. See, even now and then I won't rely on run defense or depth charts. I'll actually look at time of possession, and that's a great metric I brought up.
That's a brilliant question. I will give you credit for it. Can either team wear down? I said yes. The big thing is
basically the Browns have to have perfect drives, and the Chiefs have to settle for field goals. That's the Browns' path to victory.
That is part of it, yes. And another thing is like the other part of the equation is how many big plays. Because if the Browns have, say, 4 drives and they take up 20 minutes, and the Chiefs outscore them, but they only take up 5 minutes. So it's 14-7 with the Browns having a time of...
I'll give you one more metric. I'm on teamrankings.com. I'll give you one more metric. Last 3 games. Chiefs' last 3 games only had the ball for 30 minutes, 3 seconds. The Browns' last 3 games, they had the ball for 29 minutes and 2 seconds. But the thing is, both teams are on cold streaks in terms of time of possession because they're averaging over 30 minutes. But they are not meeting the season average in their last 3 games.
And that's what makes this game so great in my mind. Because these two teams are so similar.
What's even crazier is both teams have a better time of possession on the road than at home.
Hey, it is I think this game, that's why I said, Chris, before we got on the air, this is a trap game for the Chiefs, but the Chiefs could easily win.
The Chiefs could win, but it also feels like a game where if they win, the Browns are going to cover the spread because the spread's -4.5 for the Chiefs. The only way the Chiefs win is if they trail at the 2-minute warning and Mahomes throws a game-winning touchdown to Kelsey. It's unlikely, but you can never dismiss it because of what Mahomes' history with Kelsey. You can never dismiss that scenario.
Yeah, that's why I always say you don't have to run. If you can run for 3 yards a carry.
And even though Mahomes has a better turnover rating than the Browns, the Chiefs are only averaging like 3 big plays a game. The Browns are averaging like 5, even though they have like 2 turnovers or 1 turnover to go with those big plays.
So I always say, if you can run the ball at 2.5 yards a clip 25 times, you're going to beat a team that runs the ball 10 times at 4 yards a clip or 5 yards a clip. You've got to have the threat, because if you have the threat, that means you have the linebackers up, and that means you can throw over the top. That's something I've noticed with the Chiefs as well. Chiefs do that very well. Kareem Hunt, we've said it for 2 years. He's got 3 wheels. He's running on the 4th wheel.
There are only, out of the 15 teams.
You know what? Kareem Hunt is making that donut work because they are running that ball.
Pacheco's back too. You know.
Pacheco, yeah. So this could come down to who runs the ball most and gets that defense come up sooner.
There are 15 teams.
The sooner the defense comes up, the quicker that they can.
May I add one more note on time of possession? There are 15 NFL teams that have time of possession of under 30 minutes. Only 2 of those teams have a winning record. One of those teams is the Bills, who are 22nd in time of possession, 29-40. The other's the Rams, 29-51. Those are the only teams with a time of possession of under 30 minutes with a winning record. Seattle, 28-51 as well. So that's 3. But that's it. The Broncos as well. So the Broncos, the Bills, the Seahawks, and Falcons are the only teams with a time of possession of under 30 minutes and a winning record.
Yeah, the Broncos are an oddity, man.
The Broncos are an outlier. I can't call the Bills an outlier because they have Josh Allen.
No, it's like we talked about Josh Allen earlier.
There's only 2 players that have been featured on the website Game Recap 7 times this year in 14 games. Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen. That's it. Everybody else has only been featured 2, 3, 4 times. So that tells me Allen and Barkley are the MVPs and everybody else is playing catch-up.
And let's face it, Barkley's only being on the website this much is because you're trying to troll the Giants for being fucking stupid.
I love the Eagles' offensive line, but people do not post pictures of offensive line when it comes to game recaps. So you have to overhype the running backs for shock value.
And offensive linemen don't turn their backs to people and do a cheerleader move with the spread legs to get over.
Offensive linemen have self-control. They have to because if they don't, it screws up the entire offensive dynamic. They got to be stoic.
Are you telling me you could imagine Jason Kelce doing exactly what Saquon Barkley did?
No, but Jason Kelce has that perfect combination of
I'd pay to watch it.
Jason Kelce has that combination of he has the good combination of you want to have a little bit of bad boy in you, but you don't want to be so domineering that you're abusive. He has the right combination of playfulness, hard ass, toughness, bad boy, edgy, but he doesn't overdo it. And he's a kind person off the field.
I think both Kelce's have that.
Yeah.
Where,
I agree.
Kelce just went straight for the freaking.
They have the charm.
I'm going to crush everything and everyone. I think the Kelce both have a very good. And that brings me to a question I think I asked you earlier off the air that I want you to answer on the air.
Okay.
Because there was a question going around Cleveland media. Which of the hometown boys is going to have more?
The Browns, I think, are tougher to beat in Cleveland than at Cleveland. But what's crazy is 64% of the public's betting on the Chiefs, which I think is a little too high.
Chris.
I'm big on analytics. Go on.
Touchdowns for the Chiefs, Hunt or Kelce?
I think Kelce has the game-winning touchdown. I do think Hunt gets a touchdown, but I think it's going to be if I have the Chiefs winning 28-23, Joey wants to know who's going to get the touchdowns. I think Mahomes is going to have a passing touchdown. I think we're going to see Kelce and I think we're going to see Hunt and Pacheco. That is my prediction. Hunt, Pacheco, Mahomes gets a touchdown. Maybe it's a rushing touchdown, or maybe Mahomes throws it to Hopkins. Hopkins Hopkins played with Deshaun Watson, so I think Hopkins gets the first touchdown.
Okay.
The Chiefs get 2 rushing touchdowns, one by Pacheco, one by Hunt, and then Kelsey gets the game winner.
All right. So I'll expand on your scenario. Do you believe that Hunt gets a touchdown rushing and receiving?
It could be. If Pacheco's kept out of the end zone, that could be the trick. That could be the trick parlay, where Hunt gets the rushing and receiving touchdown, but Pacheco gets 100 yards. That could be the parlay.
That could be, because the big thing was Hunt and Kills are both Cleveland area natives.
And I'm saying if this game's scripted for the Chiefs to win, the Cleveland natives are going to shine. And that means it's not just Kels, but Hunt as well.
Exactly.
Boom.
And, so
you can't dismiss Hunt.
Question.
And it's a good one. It is a great one.
It was a very good question.
It was a fantastic question. The next game is Dolphins-Texans. I did pick the Texans to win. They're healthier, but Patrick Paul looked pretty damn good in relief of Armstead last week. I mean, he made his first NFL start, and I couldn't help looking at Will McDonald. What did Will McDonald do last week against the Dolphins with a backup left tackle? I'm just kind of curious. I want to go into the game logs for a second and see what he did against Patrick Paul, a rookie. He had 0 tackles or sacks. Paul kept him in check. That is impressive. So not only did Patrick Paul keep McDonald from sacking him, he kept McDonald from tackling him. And McDonald wasn't injured or inactive, so that's just an amazing job by Paul. It really is. I mean, Will McDonald's their best edge rusher with Jeremiah Johnson out for the year. So either McDonald was inactive, he had 0 tackles, or Patrick Paul just dominated him at the line of scrimmage. So Paul had a pretty good first showing. And if he plays like that in Houston, the Dolphins can steal this game because Tua's got his confidence back. He's got his weapons back. The Dolphins did cut Odell Beckham. And I'm aware that Berrios is out for the year.
That was mutual.
Okay.
That was a mutual release.
All right. But they have Malik Washington at slot receiver, and a lot of people are dismissing what Malik Washington can do. Pretty good rookie last year's draft out of Virginia.
I like Malik Washington.
Does Malik Washington get his first touchdown? I say yes, because here's the thing. Jalen Patir, the Texans' nickel corner, is on IR. So they moved Jimmy Ward from strong safety to nickel corner, and then they have Eric Murray, the backup strong safety, backup free safety, number 3 safety starting, and MJ Stewart is now the number 3 safety because of the Patir injury. See how that creates a domino effect? So I say yes to Malik Washington, and I say yes to the Dolphins tight end, Jonnu Smith. I say those two get on the board for Miami. Who else scores for the Dolphins? Pitch me the game. Pitch me.
I think there's a rushing touchdown for Miami. I really do.
And I think it's Achane. Achane went to Texas A&M. He's been killing it for Bandel's fantasy team. I took Etienne over Achane, backfired, and I think it's Achane. Achane's been really good the last few weeks. I could be wrong on that.
Achane's been really good for the entire year.
Only thing he didn't do that in college was pass block, but he pass blocked really well at the Senior Bowl, and he came into the year as the number 2 running back behind Mostert, but I think everybody knows it's his backfield now. It's his backfield for better or worse. He's running back 1.
Yeah, it's like Achane's been good all year. I mean, it's...
And Bandel got him in the 3rd round after getting Barkley in the 2nd. That's why his team's 2nd in the standings. And he took Burrow at like 9 after trading down from 7. He hit on all 3 of those picks, but he can only keep 2 of those players if he doesn't win it all this year. So that's a tough dilemma. That is a very tough dilemma.
It really is.
I'd keep the running backs and just try to get the best quarterback on the board when I'm picking, because I think that's the best way to keep your window alive, because you could still use a 10th round keeper on Purdy. And
I always try to keep 2 very good quarterbacks.
Especially in Superflex when you have to start 2 quarterbacks. You have to keep 1 quarterback in Superflex.
Even if I only have to start 1 of them, there's definitely going to be a buy at some point.
But the reason I drafted 3 in the first 5 rounds was simple. I had Lamar and Mahomes, and since I think Justin Herbert's going to win Super Bowl 61, and he fell to round 5, I said Justin Herbert's too good to fall to round 5. we're taking our third quarterback now, even if it backfires this year, because it's going to help us in the long run. And that was a good business decision.
It's a good strategy.
I wouldn't do that in most cases, but I felt I had to make an exception here. I felt this is the lone situation where we make an exception. And now we have Herbert for 2 more years after this year. So that was a good business decision.
My fantasy league, which I have very...
If I win, I'm playing Brett in the playoffs, Joey. Isn't that going to piss you off if I beat Brett in the playoffs? I don't think I will beat him, but if I beat him my first time, that's going to piss you off.
Not really, because I have not paid attention to the fantasy league this year.
I haven't either. I've only been paying attention as a late. But I have to win to make the playoffs.
I haven't even done that.
But here's the thing. I took the Texans 28-20. The gang is split on this. Oren, Jason, and Joey took the Dolphins. Kerm, Tracy, and Wes took the Texans. And here's the thing. If Patrick Paul plays like he did against the Jets, Teron Armstead's probably out again this week. If he plays like that against Greener and Will Anderson, the Dolphins can steal this game. Especially if their weapons step up. But that's the thing. Hill, Waddle, Achane, Washington, Smith, they can steal this if Paul plays like he did. Because Achane and Armstead and Austin Jackson are both out with injuries. And that's a big detail a lot of people are underlooking. But to your credit, I did notice that Patrick Paul was the left tackle. And I noticed he had a pretty good game. A pretty good debut, and I had a first-round grade on Paul, so I'm not surprised. He was a great blocker. Footwork was his issue at Houston. He was a great blocker when it came to maintaining blocks and pass protection. His footwork was what needed cleaning up. And he's had a lot of time to learn footwork under Armstead, so I'm not surprised he's off to a good start. But the Jets felt like a warm-up. This feels like the first true test with Will Anderson, with Armstead, with Barnett and Hughes all healthy. This feels like the first true test Paul's going to get.
And that's the thing with Paul, is that we all know his potential.
But people said his pad level's too high and his footwork sucks, so he fell in the draft. He had a first-round grade from Joey and myself. He had a pass-blocking grade of 90 for 2 years in a row in PFF, but he still fell to day 2 because of the pad level and the footwork. He cleaned that up. He looked great against the Jets.
But that's the thing. His pad level and footwork were back. But you and I both saw that, you know what, you get a good coach in there, he can end up correcting that quite quickly.
And here's the thing. He had most of the year to learn under Armstead, a former left tackle with the Saints, with a tedious injury history, so it was the perfect fit.
Yeah, and he corrected it quickly the same way we said he would correct it quickly. And guess what? All good.
But the Jets are a team that's very top-heavy at edge this year without Jeremiah Johnson. They're not deep at edge. Houston's deep at edge. Because Houston had a few games where Greener was out. They had a few games where Anderson was out. They had a few games where Hughes was out at the beginning of the year and Barnett was out. They've had like 2 games. Each of those edge rushers has missed 2 games. This is like the first time all year where all 4 edges are healthy. So this is the first big test for Paul. And if he can ace it, Miami might sneak in as a wild card. But
I have heard that the biggest issue with the Jets is that there's a lot of internal strife because Woody Johnson sees Aaron Rodgers as the end-all, be-all of football, and if he wants something, Woody's going to give it to him. And that's no offense to Woody, but Aaron Rodgers, if you don't give him what he wants, he's just going to go back up to that cabin and do another darkness retreat, okay? And it's not going to end well for you. So it's best that you hire a strong general manager and a strong coach, because guess what's going to happen? You let Aaron keep things going and be the franchise decision maker, signal caller, so on and so forth. He's 40 years old, and he has not been the same since the torn Achilles. It's not going to.
And this is why I said in the soccer draft earlier, you have a 38-year-old goalie. What if he goes down the Aaron Rodgers path when he's 40? Not the Tom Brady path, the Aaron Rodgers path. You got to get your guy now. You don't have to start him, but you at least got to get him into the minor leagues to start developing him. But back to the football stuff.
The big thing with Aaron Rodgers is he had the torn Achilles. Once players have torn Achilles, that's like they can't move after that. At least not the way you need to in a quarterback position. The torn Achilles that's like the death nail of any massive amounts of movement. And it's been said time and time again. And Aaron Rodgers, as great as he is, as great as he's been, he's showing that he's not immune to that, that thought process. Like it's nothing against Aaron, nothing against Aaron Rodgers. It's just when you lose mobility in one leg, it's not like you're going to say, hey, second leg, do the job of two legs. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry, guys. It's just not a thing. And so Aaron Rodgers, I defended him in the past, said he is, make fun of him or not, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
We're going to get to Aaron Rodgers because that's our next game against the Jaguars, but I want to pitch you a trade scenario first. Okay, if you're the Giants offer you 3/3 or 2 seconds for Aaron Rodgers straight up. Do you take the picks and run at that point, or do you just because with Brian Dable, who knows what Dable and Kafka can do with Rodgers? Maybe it's the coordinator.
If you're saying if the Giants offer the Jets
2 seconds or 3 third-round picks, you can pick the trade package of those two. Would you take either one?
2 seconds and 3 third-round picks. If you give me 2 seconds and 3 third-round
done.
Picks.
I will do that for Rodgers because I think he's better than any quarterback in the draft. And I can still take a QB in the first round if I'm wrong. So I will do that. Yeah. Most GMs would not do that out of stubbornness. I would actually agree to that.
It's not a thing. It's like you got a 41-year-old quarterback.
Well, I think Rodgers can recapture his magic under the right coaching. I think Rodgers can recapture his magic under the right coaching, but he's never going to be the guy he was in his 20s. That ship has sailed.
No, 20s or even into his late 30s.
I still think he can be the guy he was in his early 30s, but he's got to be with a team with a great coach and offensive coordinator. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And the Giants have better offensive coaches than the Jets. That's why I pitched the scenario. If the Jets traded Rodgers to the Raiders or they traded him to another NFC team, it would be a disaster. The Giants, I can see him working there.
I'll give you this scenario. In the late 70s or in the mid 80s, the Dolphins got Dan Marino. Dan Marino, what a lot of people don't realize, his one leg was a little bit shorter than the other. And Don Shula was able to parlay that into a Hall of Fame career. If the ball is able to
there's a lot of hot stove rumors that the Jets want to move on from Rodgers.
If the ball would be able to take Rodgers and his inability to move as well as he used to, and parlay it the same way Don Shula was with Dan Marino, I could see success. Just saying.
But even with a coach of Dable's caliber, I think the best case scenario is Rodgers looks like Alex Smith before Alex Smith peaked. That's the best case scenario. He's not the QB he used to be.
But you wanted a scenario, I tried to give you the...
You did. I'll give you credit. You did give me a scenario, but here's the thing. I don't know how to say You know what? I was going to say something. I completely lost my train of thought. Let's just go to the Jets-Jaguars game. All right. All right. I picked the Jets to win because they have the better roster, but the Jets are a team. You know how Sterling Archer says only Sterling Archer defeats Sterling Archer like it's an ego trip. That's the Jets this year. So much self-defeats, so much overconfidence, so much self-defeat, so much Woody Johnson thinking he's the man that he's actually burning the franchise into the ground. It's just it's a quote. You don't have to watch the show. It's just like a self. There's a lot of quotes where people think they're the man and they say, only I defeat myself. And then the reality check hits you.
And then Woody Johnson defeats himself, as he said.
And Woody Johnson falls on the sword that is a paper airplane in MetLife headquarters. Because they can't bring weapons to work. So,
years old, so if you put that paper airplane straight up and he falls on it, it may be the same as a sword.
Joey, we're not trying to encourage somebody to premeditate Woody Johnson's death with a paper airplane. We don't want CSI paper airplanes. That would not be an entertaining show. CSI paper airplanes coming soon to CBS.
We'll get hold of Mel Brooks and we'll see what Mel can do.
I'm going Jets 24, Jaguars 21. Aaron Rodgers wins a thriller in overtime in Jacksonville. Jets are 3.5-point favorites. I like the Jaguars to cover that spread, but I think the Jets win.
I think the Jets win simply because the Jets have been so horrific this year. I mean, at least the Jags we know are going to be bad.
But Evan Ingram's out for the year too, so you have no Kirk, no Ingram, no Gabe Davis. At some point, that matters because you don't have Lawrence either. I think Mac Jones is good enough to beat the Titans, and I actually like him against Ritter. That's it.
My thought process is sometimes being the Jets and that bad matters as well. There's two bad teams going against each other.
But here's the thing with Mac Jones. He's not going to be a starter, but he has a window of opportunity to remain the backup if he does well down the stretch by beating crappy teams.
Here's the thing. It's what we saw.
He was born in Jacksonville. His hometown was Jacksonville, which means Mac Jones is more likely to take a team-friendly deal with, ding, 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 Jacksonville, not the Patriots.
Here's the thing, Chris. If we take anything from Hard Knocks, we need to take it as you guys are all playing for your jobs. You're either part of the problem or you're playing for, or you're part of the solution.
Yep.
And that's what it is for these guys that are not making the playoffs. And I think if you're going to take anything from Hard Knocks,
yep, I couldn't agree more.
Say, you know, and you got to apply it to the Jags.
Our staff is split on this game. Wes, Bantle, and Kerm, who are ahead of me, all agree on the Jets. You, Tracy, and Oren took the Jaguars. So that's going to make this a very interesting game. Okay, Commanders.
Tracy is crying in the middle.
I'm not crying in the middle because I'm ahead of you. I am. You want me to point out how many games I lead you by? I have a 21-game lead over you, which means Kerm has a 28-game lead. 24-21. Jets win. Jags cover the spread.
Okay, because I didn't hear you say you had a.
The Jets are minus 3.5, so I picked the Jets to win, but I have the Jags covering the spread. Okay. And I have the game going to overtime, which means it's a coin flip. If the game goes to overtime like I'm predicting, it's a coin flip. It could go either way. And if it's a field goal game, the Jags still cover the spread, even if the Jets win.
Silver dollar or gold coin?
I don't have any gold coins. All I have is my lucky silver dollar, but I mean, I'm looking into gold coins. It sounds like a fun hobby. It does sound like a fun hobby to collect gold coins.
Yeah, Mom and Dad used to get me coins all the time, so I've got all kinds of coins: gold, silver, bronze. That's my ass thing.
I love the enthusiasm. All right, Commanders, Saints. I'm taking the Commanders.
An Irish penny.
Lattimore is back. The Irish penny of the Commanders' secondary has returned to New Orleans. And that Irish penny is ready to fuck up Chris Olave. So, yeah, I'm going 24-16. Commanders are minus 7.5 on the spread. I think they barely cover. I think this is a game where Daniels throws 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and Brian Robinson gets 100 yards. I also think Hayner does well. He gets 132 yards, but he has a touchdown and no picks. So I'm going 24-16.
I'm with you, sort of. I think Robinson has 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah. Maybe Hayner outplays Daniels, but Robinson's able to will the Commanders to victory. That could be it as well.
Yeah, I think Daniels has a good game, not a great game. And I think Robinson's kind of the star of this game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so it's not that Daniels has a bad game, it's that Robinson's like, you know what?
Eckler's on IR, and even though I like McNichols and I like Chris Rodriguez Jr. more than Nichols, and at the beginning of the year, they weren't using him as much as McNichols. Now they are, because when Robinson was injured, Rodriguez stepped up again. His impact was greater than Nichols. But Bengals Titans, Awuzie returned from an injury last week. I'm going to predict that Awuzie has an interception against the Bengals. Awuzie, Bengals win 28-20. One of the touchdowns, a garbage time touchdown by Tajay Spears, the backup running back, or the other is from Will Levis to Spears. The other is a Chidobe Awuzie pick 6. Awuzie gets a pick 6 against Burrow. That is my prediction for this game. The Bengals still win 28-20, but Chidobe Awuzie, the player the Bengals cut, gets a pick 6 on Burrow. Heck of a prediction, Joey. Heck of a prediction. All right. The Bengals are a lock on the site, but I think we can agree the Awuzie pick 6 is the most entertaining thing about this.
I didn't hear the details of your prediction. I did hear the end result.
Awuzie pick 6. Chidobe Awuzie pick 6. He came back from an injury last week.
Yes, and I was going to get some ibuprofen, but I heard.
Because here's the thing: for the past month, the Titans have only had Brownlee, their 5th round pick. Snead and Awuzie were both injured. Now Awuzie is back, so I think Awuzie.
I could go one more than that. I'd say 2 interceptions.
2 interceptions, no pick 6, or 1 interception, 1 pick 6. I can see either or, but not both. I'll meet you halfway there. I will meet you halfway there. That's an ambial compromise. You'll take that.
Good compromise right there. That's a good compromise.
All right, Bills-Bengals. Bills-Lions. Sorry, I said Bills-Bengals. That ship has already sailed, but Buffalo heads to Detroit. Everyone on the site took the Lions.
I thought that ship was already set.
Yeah, I've got the Lions winning 34-31. Everybody has the Lions winning. Sean McVay is about as defeated as Scar, and I mean that in the most literal sense. Dan Campbell is Simba, and Sean McVay is Scar. And Sean McVay is getting fucked up in Detroit this Sunday.
I'm not going to... Sean McVay...
No, Sean McVay's the Rams coach. I meant McDermott. Damn it. McDermott has the Scar moment. I apologize, Sean McVay. Please forgive me. And I do have a lot of respect for McDermott. Probably one of the best defensive minds in the game. But I think Dan Campbell, Simba's the Bills this week.
There are few coaches in the NFL that I have more respect for than McDermott.
I just think the Lions are going to win. And they're going to humiliate them the way Simba humiliated Scar at the end of The Lion King.
I do agree with you. I do think the Lions win.
But it's a high-scoring game. It's not a blowout, 34-31. It's like last week's Rams game. I actually had the Rams last week. And then I pivoted to the Niners, and it was like, what the fuck? And I even found out the guy officiating the Rams game was 5-0 in Rams games. So Jason was puzzled by my decision to pick San Francisco. But I just thought Purdy would sling it.
McDermott has, between McDermott and his predecessor, they've done a very good job of not only putting
Joe Brady.
Not only putting coaches in positions that they need to be there when they need to be there.
I think part of it is the evolution of Josh Allen, but the other part of it's the timing of the coordinators.
Josh Allen's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, it's like they've got the exact coaches where they need.
First they had Dable, then they had Dorsey, and now they have Joe Brady. So it's having the right offensive coordinator at the right time before the offense becomes too predictable. That's the big thing.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They had the best offensive coordinator and the best quarterback coach they could have had at the time for Josh Allen. Then the coach goes on to become coach of the Giants. The offensive coordinator goes on to become coach of the Giants. That quarterback coach becomes his offensive coordinator. That's what he needed at the time. And then when that ran its course, he got rid of it. And Joe Brady came in, and Joe Brady he's
made the Bills more run heavy.
I really liked. I've liked all of those coaches that have coached Josh Allen because I really like all of them and what they bring to the table. But when it comes to Josh Allen and this offense, that's what Sean McDermott has done very, 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 very well.
And a lot of people forget when McDermott first got there, he didn't call the plays. Leslie Frazier did. But ever since Leslie Frazier retired, McDermott's been calling more plays, and the Bills have actually done better defensively under McDermott.
And let's not.
And that's not a knock on Frazier. He gets an honorable mention, but he's just not in the same tier as the coordinators on offense.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, let's not dismiss Leslie Frazier because he was a great coach, and he was also a very respected head coach.
Like, if we were making a Bills coaching tree tier, McDermott would be in the A tier on the brink of joining S, and then I would probably put the other coaches in the B tier, but Frazier would be on the line between the B and C tier. He wouldn't be in the C tier, but he wouldn't be in the B tier either. He'd be on the line. That's all. I'll leave it at that.
I don't think there is a coach.
I can't say the McDermott's an S tier head coach until he wins a Super Bowl. I'm not going to give McDermott an S tier until he wins a Super Bowl. I'm not opposed to it, but he hasn't earned it yet. That's my big objection, and it's a fair one.
I think it's McDermott. Then you have to skip one, and then you have the other guys.
So you're saying McDermott's in the A tier, and then the other guys are in the C tier, and then Frazier's on the line between the C and the D tier. That's basically what you're saying.
The only guy I would say maybe in the C plus tier would be Dorsey, and that's because he did it with Cam Newton as quarterback's coach, and then he did it with Allen as quarterback's coach, and he has a little bit more of a resume than the other guys. And Joe Brady could potentially break into that beat.
Fans could say that's biased, but Dable was basically a college coach before he came to the Bills. So his resume wasn't as seasoned as Dorsey's.
Yeah, and that is the big thing. Is that the season is like
he's done well for what he's had to work with, but at the same token, it's not otherworldly or exceptional.
He hasn't been the quarterback coach on MVP.
All right. We're going to get to Steelers-Eagles.
That is a pretty big thing.
We are going to get to Steelers-Eagles. This is not a lock on the site. Both Oren and Tracy took the Steelers. This is not a lock on Draft Utopia. I do have the Eagles winning, though. I think it's a blowout. 34-14. I think the Eagles blow out the Steelers and beat them by 2 touchdowns in Philly. They went on the road and beat the Ravens. I think they beat the Steelers by 3. 20-point win. Tomlin loses by 20. It is. But the Eagles' offense is really good, too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. the
And if you want to create the illusion that the Eagles are a Super Bowl contender, what better narrative than to have the Eagles beat the Steelers by 20? Because that reinforces that narrative.
And the Eagles defense is also really good. And the Steelers offense isn't that good.
And I think that's the difference.
That is the difference, because let's face it, we documented it earlier.
It's not that the Steelers suck. It is the Eagles' defense. Their run defense is like 9th, and their pass defense is like 7th. They're so balanced that it's going to be hard for Wilson to score more than 14 on this team, unless an injury occurs on the Eagles' defense.
And I pointed toward this. Last week against Jameis Winston, an undrafted rookie made an amazing interception, and another young guy made another amazing interception.
Are you talking about Beanie Bishop, the West Virginia nickel corner who was undrafted, picked by the Steelers? Because here's the thing with Beanie Bishop. He wasn't even supposed to start, but Cameron Sutton got the 8-game suspension, and he took the nickel job from Sutton and ran with it. So
that was who I was talking about. I didn't think he was drafted. I thought he was undrafted.
He was undrafted, but he still took the starting nickel job from Sutton, because after Sutton's suspension, the Steelers said, Beanie Bishop's played well the last 2 games. We're going to keep him at nickel and make Sutton earn his roster spot back. We're not going to cut him. He still has a role in this team, but he's our dime corner. He's got to earn everything he gets back. That's probably what Tomlin's thinking. He'll never say that, because he's like a sorcerer. He's not revealing his secrets. He's not revealing his secrets. Tomlin's not saying shit like that because he values all his guys. He values all his guys.
Makes it that much more impressive that he technically made the interception that sealed the game for the Steelers. Okay, that makes it more impressive, but we can't, let's be realistic, as impressive as the Steelers' young guys were last week.
There's going to be a point where the Steelers reach a glass ceiling. We both know it's coming. But every Yinzer's like, no, the glass ceiling's not happening. It's happening. You get the Ravens and Eagles on the road. You get the Chiefs at home. And then you get the Bengals at home to end the year. And if the Bengals are still in contention, it's a big if right now. If they're 8-8, that is a game where they've got the momentum and you don't.
Yeah, because let's be honest. If those 2 young guys didn't come up, last week's game could have been very different. If the young guys don't come up this week's game could be disastrous.
It could be the beginning of a slump for Pittsburgh. Because I still think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. They beat enough weak teams early in the season, but they're probably going to be the 7th seed if they get on a cold streak. If they keep this momentum or they want a home playoff game, they got to keep winning. That's the bottom line.
It's like they got fortunate. The young guys stepped up last week because the Browns were driving a couple times, and the young guys made some amazing plays.
All right.
I will never be upset with young guys making amazing plays.
But
when you got young guys like that, you can't count on them just making amazing plays week after week after week, time after time after time. That's just unrealistic.
Yeah. Patriots, Cardinals. I took the Cardinals. The only person who took my Patriots was Tracy. But I did some research on Pro Football Focus. Garrett Williams, their nickel corner, is 12th out of 118 corners. Sean Murphy Bunting, Starling Thomas IV, and Max Melton ranked 79th, 80th, and 104th among those 118 corners. So Garrett Wilson's 12 out of 118. Their other 3 corners are 79, 80, and 104. And I like the safety tandem of Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson, who they extended on a team-friendly deal versus Byron Murphy. But they probably should have kept Baker and Murphy in hindsight and just reloaded the rest of the secondary. That was a bad decision on the previous regime, but you can't blame Ozenfort for that. Because
I like 3, maybe 4. I need to watch a little bit more of the All-22 for the Patriots. Maybe 4. I'm on the.
I got the Cardinals winning 35-28. I think Drake May plays turnover-free ball, but I also think Kyler plays turnover-free ball, and the Cardinals just do a little bit more to win. That's kind of conclusion.
I really like 4 out of the back seven for the Patriots.
I love the Patriots secondary. They have Gonzalez. I know Peppers got put on the commissioner's exempt list, but he's back. I know Duggar got injured, missed a few games. He's back. The number 2 corner is Jonathan Jones. He's in a contract year. He's serviceable, but he's not a guy you extend past this year. And the nickel is Marcus Jones. I like Jones the nickel, but I don't think he's anything more than that. And if he takes a team-friendly deal, I'll bring him back. If he wants $6.5, $7 million a year, I will bring him back for 2 or 3 years.
And linebacker, I do like Taki in there. I think he's done a very nice job. He hasn't done a great job.
Taki's like a depth player. People don't like the Patriots. Let me go through the Patriots quickly because they have Jennings.
Taki is one of those players that he can be a starter.
He can be, but he's the backup.
But he can be replaced.
Here's the thing: Jennings is the right outside linebacker in both the 43 and 34, and the nickel. Christian Ellis is the Mike linebacker in both schemes because Bentley's injured. Bentley got injured at the end of the year. Then McMillan had a turn. McMillan sucked, so he got replaced with Ellis. And
can you say Jennings rules again because that's pretty damn impressive.
34 right outside linebacker, 43 right outside linebacker, and right outside linebacker in a 3-3-5 nickel, and a 4-2-5. 4-2-5. So in all those schemes, he's the right outside linebacker. Now, with Ellis, he's the Mike in every scheme, and it's mainly due to Bentley's injury. Tavai will play situationally in a 34 middle linebacker, and he will also play Sam linebacker in a 43. That's Tavai's role. Taki, Yannick is the 34 left outside linebacker. Taki is a situational edge in a 34, and he's a situational Mike in a 34 behind Tahani. So he's a situational edge, a situational Mike, and a situational Sam to Tavai. So he's basically a jack of all trades backup, regardless of the scheme.
And that's what he was in Cleveland. It's the jack of all trades. But with Patriots, he just happens to be the veteran leader because Patriots are a young team.
Yeah.
They're a young defense.
You can't overlook his role. And Barmore is back. Gatto and White are all healthy. And Dietrich Wise, who began the year as a starter, is the 4th defensive lineman for depth. So they have the personnel to limit Kyler Murray from getting 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But if they don't, I think this is a game where Arizona wins. But I could also see Patriots stealing this if they get some turnovers.
If you remember in the preseason, I was praising the Patriots defense.
Because when this defense is healthy, they are good. I know they traded Judon and they Uche, but when this defense is healthy in the secondary and the D-line, they are a pain in the ass to deal with. I think the Cardinals' best bet is James Conner. He's going to be the X factor. If Conner gets 100 yards, the Cardinals win. Cardinals are 5-0 when Conner gets 100 yards. They are 1-6. They are 1-7 when he doesn't. Conner is the X factor. Period.
I love Conner. But he has been so inconsistent over his career.
And part of it this year is he's healthy, but the problem is the Cardinals' interior offensive line. They have Froholt at center. Will Hernandez is out at right guard. And I like Evan Brown as a center, but he's not as good at left guard. So that interior for the Cardinals is really limiting. Jonah Williams came back a few weeks ago. He's still settling into things. There are fans that like Beachum more as a run blocker, but Williams is a pass blocker. And you really can't have it both ways, Joey. It's just a bad hand the Cardinals got dealt. But I think they should play Meacham more as a swing, you know? Play some more 3-tackle sets like Dan Campbell and put Beachum in on some running plays. Not all the time, maybe 1 out of every 10 plays. Got to start incorporating that like the Lions if you want to get places, because that's how you win games with your offense.
Or better put Meacham in select formations where he's...
I think you could play Beachum as a guard, but the Cardinals want to keep him at tackle. I think Beachum would work as a guard. I really do. He's 6'5", but the Cardinals like, no, he's been a tackle his entire career. We're going to keep him there. I play him at tackle. Cologne is not very good.
No, absolutely not.
You have You also have the UCLA center that we like, Gaines. You have Gaines, and you have Gaines, you have Beecham, and you have Christian Jones, your third-round pick out of Texas. You can start Jones and move Jonah Williams to right guard where he played in college. You have a number of options here, and you're pissing away your potential by playing Cologne.
You know I love Jones because I advocated for Jones a lot last year.
Same here, but they're easing him in. Arizona doesn't want to play him. They're treating him like a third stringer, even though he's good.
Yeah, and
it infuriates me because they have the talent to be better than they are, and they're not maximizing or utilizing their talent.
If you want Meacham to play tackle, my thing is...
The thing with the Cardinals is they had better chemistry when he was starting over Williams. Once Williams came back, the offensive line chemistry plummeted, even though Williams got better since his first start.
You put together a package, make it a 13 personnel...
What I would do is I'd rotate the tackles each drive, like Dan Campbell does with the running backs. On a drive where you're winning, you play Beecham. On a drive when you need to get points, you play Williams at right tackle. And you rotate them every drive like Gibbs and Montgomery. And you call them the bull and the bear. The bull and the bear. Bear market, bull market. The bull and the bear on the offensive line. It sells the bull and the bear.
For simplifying that, because I was going to get into a technical thought process on that, but it was essentially the same thing. So thank you for simplifying that and saving me the effort of going through an entire offensive philosophy.
All right, good.
For one player.
All right, next game is Colts-Broncos. Everyone on the site is taking the Broncos. The Broncos are a lock this week. I've got them winning 24-20. The Chargers are not a lock. Even though Joey loves Baker Mayfield, he picked the Chargers. I've got the Chargers winning 30-17. Bantle took the Bucs in the upset. Jason Bantle, he likes what they're doing with Bucky Irving. He decided to take the Bucs in an upset. I love it. It's unique. It's not a boring game. It makes the game more fun to watch as a fan.
It's a tough matchup. I think Baker could go for 2 touchdowns, 250 yards, but I also believe
he's going to get picked off twice.
He could get picked off twice because, let's face it, the Chargers have the best defensive backfield in football.
And that's without Asante Samuel.
I completely believe that.
That's without Asante Samuel, by the way. So
Yeah. I want 3 all-22s on 3 different games on the Chargers defense, and those guys, they're just good.
Yep.
They are damn good. They are the best defensive backfield I have seen in football today.
All right. And after we get through these final 3 games, I attempted an NFL expansion draft, and Joey is going to grade it, and then we will sign off. I'm going to keep it quick. I'm not going to do in-depth player breakdowns. I'm just going to name the backups I got in the expansion draft, and Joey's going to assess things. All right. Packers-Seahawks. I took Green Bay. I love what Seattle has with Abraham Lucas back in the lineup. The Seahawks are a much more dangerous team, but Kenneth Walker is injured. I think the Packers are slightly better than Seattle, even as a road dog, but I think it's a close one-score game, 28-24. Give me the Pack. You, Jason Orr, took Green Bay. Kerm, Tracy, and West took Seattle. I can see why our staff's divided on this game. It's a very even game on paper, and Seattle's the home team. And they lead the NFC West, I believe.
I am very much... I do love the Packers, but I am also somebody who looks...
I feel like you're tempted to switch to Seattle, but you're going to stick with the Packers and pick Seattle to cover.
Stick with the Packers, but Seattle does...
Cover the spread. Spread's -2.5 for Green Bay. So that means...
I could see them covering the spread on that, yes.
So Seattle loses, but they only lose by 1 or 2 and cover.
I can see that. I can see it with the last second field goal.
And the over-under is 46.5. Most people are betting the under, so I'm going with the high-scoring game. So 24-23 Green Bay. Seahawks cover. Over hits barely. That's kind of what Joey's thinking here. If you want to pick his brain.
Yeah, Seattle isn't what they were, but they are a very, what can I say about them? They are a very scrappy team. They're a very well prepared team. And
what if we get another field goal that hits the post, but this one doesn't go in and it spins like a dreidel? The football spins like a dreidel as time expires. We go from the doink in Kansas City to a dreidel field goal. Imagine it, Joey. Just imagine the chaos if a field goal hits the post. It spins like a dreidel. It doesn't go in, but it doesn't hit the ground either. It spins like a dreidel for 10 seconds, and then it misses. Jesus. I think at that point the refs would just say the refs would just try to block the kick at that point. I'm kidding, but
that would be one of those where that I saw during the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game where
would it be field goal interference if you tried to block the kick? If the football's on the field goal for 10 seconds and it's stuck on the field goal post, it doesn't go downward, but it doesn't go upward, and it's just stuck on the field goal post for 10 seconds like it's super glued, but it's spinning like a dreidel. Can you block the kick, or is that goaltending? That's what I'd like to know from Terry McAuley, because it's a fair question. If it's on the field goal post but not in, can you...
If you can jump that high, I give you credit. I was thinking more of,
I just like a ruling on that. I think that's a fair question as far as officiating and rule book goes. I think that's a fair open-ended question.
It is an open-ended question. What I was thinking of was and people during the Steelers-Browns game were like, we don't know whether it went in or not.
We have 17 people listening to our NFL predictions. Good Lord. So we went from 178 to 17, but you guys who stuck around are the troopers of today. All right, so Bears, Vikings, and Falcons, Raiders are locks. I'm not even going to go into detail on these games. It's 5 p.m. I want to break down the expansion draft, get my feedback from Joey, and we're going to get out of here. So Vikings 28-21. Okay, Oren thinks it's going to be a blowout. I think he has the Vikings winning 30-9. Jeez, that would be ugly. Because if it's 30-9, you might get a... garbage time possession by the backup, the Tyson Bagent. If it's 30-9, you might get a Tyson Bagent garbage time drive. I'll admit, as a fan of Tyson Bagent, I do think that'd be kind of cool. Falcons 28, Raiders 17. I think Ritter gets 17 on the Falcons because it's a revenge game for Ritter. Not because I think he's talented enough to beat the Falcons, because it's a revenge game, and I think he's going to play better than people think.
I do have a theory that you said at 5 o'clock. Maybe that's the reason we only have 17 viewers left.
Yeah, because we started at 10 a.m. and we're still here at 5. We went from 100. We went from 178 because our soccer, we're the only site that does MLS mock drafts. Top Draw Soccer doesn't release their mock until the day of the draft, so we're basically running unopposed. This is now. Can I please talk about the expansion draft? I know you want to roast the show for the ratings plummeting, but let's do the expansion draft because, San Diego did an expansion draft for MLS. I'm going to do an NFL expansion draft. With the first pick from the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Austin... Yeah, I'm giving Austin the team. We're calling them the Austin... Should we call them the Austin X's or the Austin Musks? You get to pick the team name.
Texas said George Strait, so let's go with the Austin X's.
The Austin X's. The Austin X's, because Elon Musk changed Twitter to X. The Austin X's. The Austin X's select quarterback Justin Fields. The Austin X's.
All my X's.
The Austin X's select Justin Fields. They want Winston, but they have to settle for Fields because the Browns and Andrew Berry are smart enough to protect. They're smart enough to protect Winston. The Steelers are smart enough too, but I feel like they're going to pay Wilson and draft another young guy to develop. So we are the Austin X's are stuck with Fields. Next pick.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Next pick, Minnesota Vikings, Cam Robinson. Cam Robinson's a UFA. Darrisaw will be back. We get Cam Robinson because the Vikings leave him unprotected, and he's our blind side. Next up, we get our corner. Tre'Davious White is our number one corner. Effective when healthy, but, injury history. Our edge rusher, Von Miller. The Bills protect their young edge rushers, but their backup edge rusher is Von Miller. He's available, and we pick up the former Super Bowl MVP to be our right end.
I'm scared about Cam Robinson, but I really like Von Miller. So you're good to go ahead.
At number 5, our defensive tackle 1, the Cleveland Browns. We're picking up Hurst. I think whoever's unprotected between Harris and Hurst is our pick here, and I think that Browns protect Harris, so we get Hurst because of Hurst's injury history.
That'd be a great pickup because I think Hurst, the Browns have not overextended Hurst over the last 2 years. He has been playing very good ball. I think that's a great pickup by you.
All right, our wide receiver 1 is Romeo Doubs of the Packers. The rules for the expansion draft are simple. 1 player from each team, and it cannot be a rookie or a sophomore. It cannot be a starter. It cannot be a number 1 pick. Jameis Winston cannot be a rookie, cannot be a sophomore. Those players are automatically protected. So I am playing with a handicap. Dobbs is the number 3, number 4 receiver. Green Bay still has Wicks, Reed, and Watson on rookie deals, so Dobbs is the odd man out. So Dobbs is our number 1 receiver. Dobbs is our number 1 receiver. All right. Next up, our number 2 corner. We're going Keely Ringo. I know he's a second-year player, but at the same token, I don't know why we went Keely Ringo. He was a 4th-round pick last year, but at the same token, I feel like the Eagles are just going to keep Slay and the 2 rookie corners they have, and they'll be like, here. Howie Roseman will be like, here's Keely Ringo. He's a good corner. Here's a piece of candy. Take him off my hands, and we will swap 3rd and 4th rounders. Here. Howie Roseman's like, here. I will give you a 4th-round pick in Ringo, but you're giving me a day 2 pick, bitch. Here. Howie Roseman. I'm Howie Roseman. And Howie Roseman just baits you into making that trade because that's Howie Roseman. That is Howie Roseman in a nutshell. So we get Ringo thanks to Howie Roseman.
Ringo is a very good.
But we give up a 3rd-round pick.
I mean, he has a lot of raw skill. I think he's still developing.
The Eagles have the 2nd best pass defense in the league, and that's partially due to the trio of Slay and the 2 rookies, DeJean and Mitchell, but they also have Isaiah Rodgers for depth. We'll change this to Isaiah Rodgers, who got busted for gambling. I think Ringo's better, but I did break one of my rules. So we'll go Isaiah Rodgers just because I broke one of my rules. One of my rules is I cannot draft a sophomore or a rookie. No, Ringo's a 2nd-year player. He's not a 22 draft pick. He's a 23 draft pick. So, and I can't draft rookies or sophomores. That is one of the rules I set. So I broke a rule I set. Joey's going to roast me for degenerate gambling, but I did break one of the rules I set. So I'm correcting course now, and Isaiah Rodgers is our number 2 corner. Let's just hope he doesn't drag Tre'Davious White down the path of gambling. But White, the righteous man, will set Rodgers straight. We can draft undrafted players. I did add a clause. An undrafted player is available. Jalen McCullough, the Rams' number 4 safety at the beginning of the year, is 6th in the NFL with 4 interceptions. So we are picking McCullough as our starting strong safety. He is coming to the Austin X's. We have a ball hawk. We have an interception guy. You thought I wasn't going to look for that. You were wrong. You underestimated me.
So far, especially defensively, and that one with Romeo Dobbs, I really love that one.
All right, our D tackle 2 next to Hurst is Greg Gaines. Him and Vita Vea were teammates at Washington, but they played in a 43-34 hybrid at Washington. They played in a 34 in Tampa. We can't get Vea, the human boulder, I compared Vita Vea to the human boulder in Crash Bandicoot, because if you remember Crash Bandicoot, there's a level where Crash Bandicoot has to escape a boulder. I compared Vita Vea to the boulder in Crash Bandicoot. So Greg Gaines is coming to the Austin X's. He's our D tackle 2 next to Hurst.
I think Hurst and Gaines, they're both young. They don't have the...
And Gaines won a Super Bowl with the Rams in his rookie deal, too. That's the other thing.
They are very good at what they do. I think that would be a great building block tandem for the George Straits of, all your exes.
All right, next up is our second edge rusher, our left end, the guy the Seahawks and Eagles wanted at the Senior Bowl, Darrell Taylor Jr. He's the number 4 edge. They have DeMarcus Walker, but looking at the Bears, they have Sweat and they have Walker as the left end because they chose receiver and quarterback over an edge, and we get Darrell Taylor, who the Bears picked up, and he's going to learn under Von Miller. He's going to be the number 2 edge in. Next up, the Jaguars, we get our middle linebacker. We get Chad Muma, my middle linebacker, too. The Jaguars have Olakun. They have Devin Lloyd. And even the Florida linebacker they drafted has been good. Ventrell Miller's been better than Chad Muma. And so we're going to pick up Muma from Jacksonville for our expansion team. He's going to be our Mike linebacker.
I've seen Muma several times live. And the thing the Jaguars have going for them that a lot of people don't realize, if they don't have anything else, they got middle linebackers out the ass that are very productive. Muma is, I don't know if he may be the youngest of the group, but he's no exception to that.
Yep. And next up with the Houston Texans, we finally get our free safety, MJ Stewart, the former Brown. He's number 4, number 5 on the Texans depth chart. But with our expansion team, he will start next to McCullough, and he will be McCullough's mentor in the Austin X's.
That's an amazing pick. Something I have not figured out with how the Texans have taken a guy that can be a strong safety, a free safety, a slot corner, a boundary corner, and a special teams ace, and relegated him to none of the above. So I think you have done a great job in picking him up.
Our starting running back from the Las Vegas Raiders is undrafted free agent Sincere McCormick. I had a 4th-round grade on him, finally played, finally showed why I had him as a running back 1. We have to pick someone from the Raiders. Screw it. Let's roll the dice on Sincere McCormick. If he sucks, we can get a running back in the draft.
I like McCormick. I don't love McCormick. McCormick is a serviceable...
But who else in the Raiders are we going to pick? We can't take Mayer off their hands because he's a sophomore. It's against the rules, so we have to settle for McCormick. Who else?
What about that other running back they got?
They've got 2 running backs, Zamir White and Madison. They're going to protect White. They have Madison. I think Madison's a floor player. I think McCormick's ceiling's higher, and he has a lower workload, so that's why I took him. Joey can tweak that pick if he wants to in his scenario, or maybe he makes his own scenario that's different to mine. But I wanted to challenge myself as a GM. I wanted to challenge myself mentally.
It's Madison, I believe, is the more explosive back. I mean,
our right tackle is swing tackle Dan Skipper. Sorry, Dan Campbell. You lose Dan Skipper. He's actually shown he can play the blind side in relief of Decker for a few games. I think he deserves an opportunity as a starting bookend. Not a left tackle, but a bookend. We're taking him because we have to take someone from the Lions. Let's take him because the Lions are going to protect all their starters who are young. Let's get Skipper. He might be serviceable at right tackle.
Yeah, they can get another swing tackle.
They drafted the guy from William and Mary last year. From the 49ers, we're getting Jawan Jennings. Not that I want Jawan Jennings, but John Lynch is going to do everything in his power to keep the trio of Debo, Ayuk, and Pearsall together as long as possible. We're stuck with Jennings. That is the only receiver available to us, and we need a wide receiver 2 next to Dobbs, so we're getting Jennings. He's had some good games as of late, outside of the Thursday night game. I think he actually led the team in receivers and passing yards. He had more yards than Debo on Thursday, despite the loss.
I do like James. I do think he needs a lot of development, but he has shown.
I don't think he's a long-term starter, but he's a short-term number 2 guy. He's a short-term number 2 guy for a year or two, and if he doesn't take that leap, then you move on from him. But for a year or two, I think he can work as a short-term number 2 guy.
I think he has, at the very least, long-term number 3 possibilities.
Yeah. Our starting tight end, Noah Gray. Kelsey and Noah Gray are not rookies or sophomores, and the Chiefs are going to keep Kelsey until he retires. So we're just going to swoop in and take Noah Gray. He is our pick for the Chiefs.
That's a coup, dude. Gray is a freaking beast. He just happens to be playing Kelsey, which is the greatest tight end of all time. But this dude's a beast. You get him. Damn. That's an amazing find.
All right. Next pick we need a third defensive tackle for depth. We're going Jets. Solomon Thomas. Not only does Thomas have experience at D tackle, he has experience as a third edge rusher, and he can be a situational edge or a situational D tackle. I like the 43 defense more than the 34, so Thomas is our DT3 in this expansion draft. Your thoughts on the pick? He was number 2 behind Garrett, so we're not getting him as a starter. We're getting him as a depth player at both D tackle and edge.
Yeah, I know. It's like you don't have to get a guy like that. He's a guy that's a 3-year pro that has flashed great potential, but has not ever put anything together. So if Chris, you have not disclosed your coaching staff, but
I'm thinking we'll do a part 2. I'm thinking we do a part 2 of this next week because I went through the positional value pyramid when picking the expansion draft. There's still 9 more picks we have to make, and we haven't put together a coaching staff yet. So I think that's part 2 of this challenge. That's part 2 of this. But we come back and do that in the offseason. We don't have to do that now. From the Chargers, our nickel corner from the Chargers is Asante Samuel Jr. They have 2 corners on rookie deals. That Fulton's their number 1 right now. He's been more durable. He's going to be cheaper than Samuel. So I say the Chargers let Samuel walk, but we get him as a nickel corner. And here's the kicker with Samuel. Samuel can outperform Rodgers. Samuel might be a small guy, but if Rodgers slips up, Samuel can take his job. So, and if all 3 corners are healthy, that is a good trio of White, Rodgers, and Samuel in the nickel. That's a really good trio.
Here's the thing. Asante Samuel is probably, when healthy, a top 5 to 6 corner in the NFL.
But he was great his first 2 years at nickel, but the Chargers moved him to number 1 corner in the 3rd year, and I think that, and he did okay in that role, but then he got injured this year. He wasn't as good in the number 1 as he was in the nickel.
Whether it be a severe injury or a soft tissue injury, every year since his 2nd year in the league.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, his talent is not in question. His talent is top notch.
I'm willing to gamble on him if the Chargers want to get rid of that contract and they want like a 4th or 5th for him. I'm willing to gamble on him as a nickel. The Colts, we get Ryan Kelly. We get Ryan Kelly because Tanner Bortolini was only started 3 games, but he was top 5 in pass blocking on PFF in his first 2 starts. So Bortolini, and what pisses me off is the Colts didn't even give Bortolini a shot at guard. They basically stuck him in at center to try to absorb everything Ryan Kelly does. And Kelly's in a contract year. He's 30. We know Ballard's not paying Kelly. So I think we end up picking up Kelly, and our offensive line so far, left tackle Cam Robinson, right tackle Dan Skipper, center Ryan Kelly. We do not have any guards, though. Joey will be getting guards for this unit in part 2.
I love the player and his upside, but it is for me, being somebody who's been in retail so long, when I hear Tortellini. I always think of Tortellini.
I get it, but, Ballard's thought process is, you know what? Bortolini was top 5 in limited action. Let's pivot to Bortolini and let Kelly hit the open market if he wants too much money, because Kelly might decline soon. We, the expansion team, take on Kelly because Kelly will help Justin Fields in the short term, even if it's only for a year or two before the decline begins. All right, our slot receiver, Jalen Coker. He was undrafted. I had a 3rd-round grade on Coker, and he's going to be our slot to Jennings and Dobbs. Right now, he's 4th on the Panthers depth chart. He's behind David Moore. And no disrespect to David Moore, but I think Coker's better. So we're taking Coker. Our tight end 2, Daniel Bellinger. Bellinger was actually the tight end 1 as a rookie, got demoted to tight end 2 behind Waller, and then this year he was supposed to break out and beat Theo Johnson. Theo Johnson took the tight end 1 job from him. So you know what? We have to pick someone from the frickin' Giants. We're taking Bellinger as a tight end 2 to Noah Gray. I know that sounds stupid, Joey, but he's our tight end 2 to Noah Gray.
It's not even stupid. I really like him. I think the Giants were probably trying to do...
Who else can we pick as a backup that's decent? It's Singletary if the Giants want to get rid of his contract, or Bellinger. Those are really our only options.
Bellinger, I think, is a starting caliber tight end.
But with Noah Gray, he's just a good tight end, too, to complement Gray.
And he's not a high-end starter, but I think he is a starter. And I do think that the Giants probably got caught up in trying to do a bunch of different things to hope and pray that Daniel Jones would work out.
Okay, from the Cincinnati Bengals, we are getting our weak side linebacker. We are getting Akeem Davis-Gaither. I remember the 2020 Senior Bowl. I remember they loved Logan Wilson, but I interviewed Davis-Gaither. I asked him what motivated him. He said his daughter. I cannot root against that guy, even when he beats me in fantasy. Akeem Davis-Gaither is a man among boys, and the truth is he's good enough to start in this league. But because the Bengals have Pratt and Wilson, he's the linebacker 3 in Cincy. So, you know what? Davis-Gaither is going to be our weak side linebacker. Compliment Muma. Muma and Davis-Gaither, Joey. Those are our starting linebackers.
Davis-Gaither is a guy that should be a starter, but the Bengals, if you like him or not, and
the Bengals are not going to protect him in expansion draft. They're going to protect Pratt and Wilson. I don't think they're going to protect Davis-Gaither. If they only have 23, 27 slots, they're not going to protect him. He's available for us.
The only thing they've got are linebackers. Their defensive back.
They have Hendrickson and their linebackers. That's it. And the only unprotected linebacker is Davis-Gaither. So Davis-Gaither is ours by process of elimination.
Yeah, it's like it's nothing against Davis-Gaither's or that he hasn't started yet. It's just that
he is the only asset we can obtain if we're trying to build an expansion team with current NFL rosters. And wrapping up this group, the Miami Dolphins, Alec Ingold, fullback. He is our fullback in 2 running back sets.
That's interesting. It's like
he's had some games where he's surprised people. So that is my draft, Joey. My expansion draft with the Austin X's.
With him is that the only reason I'm not going to roast this is because he's actually pretty good.
He's like the Mike Tolbert of McDaniel's offense. He's the Mike Tolbert of the Mike McDaniel offense. Like, situationally, he'll come in and be a vulture and steal a goal line touchdown from a Chane or Mostert or Jalen Wright. It throws everything off. It throws everything off, and it's great.
He can run a goal line touchdown. He can play in the 8 and get a couple receptions. He can play tight end. He can do some things. So I'm not going to be upset with him because he's not exactly a fullback. He's not exactly a tight end. He's just one of these guys that can get some things done. And I like players like that.
All right, the 7 teams that we did not pick for are, this is for part 2. This is for a future show. The Tennessee Titans, and Joey can pick a player or a coach. I'm adding new rules because I've done a good job with this team. Now it's time for Joey to make the fine-tuned touches.
There's
He can pick players or coaches.
For these 7 teams.
For 9 teams, there's 9. We picked for 23 teams. So we picked for 23 teams. There's 9 teams left.
Well, here's the thing. You got the players from the other teams. These last 9 teams. Get your coaching staff from these teams.
Very, very interesting. So you have to get your coaching staff from the 9 teams. And what about front office? Are front office applicable too, or do you have to just get coaches from these teams?
As long as they're not general managers
or assistant general managers? Assistant general managers, head scouts, or GMs. But regional scouts are allowed. Regional scouts are allowed. Okay, that I like that. That is a good challenge.
General managers should be allowed to because it'll get them
Assistant
a
GMs, yeah.
promotion.
So the Titans are still available. The Patriots are still available. I did not claim anyone on the Patriots. I'm thinking we go Sighty So, the guard Tony Mario Love, because he's now the backup right guard of the Patriots. They have Cole Strange. Lade Robinson took the right guard job from Sighty So. They have Caden Wallace, but he's a rookie. Sighty So is a second-year player. But like I just don't know who we can go with here for the Patriots. That's a challenge because they don't have a lot of quality backups. We could get I think they have Austin Hooper. Not because Harrison Bryant's on the Raiders and Austin Hooper left the Raiders. He's on the Patriots. So we could get Austin Hooper. Is a tight end 3. There's not a lot to work with, though. We could get Taki, I guess, if you wanted a Sam linebacker. I guess we could pick Taki. That's probably your first pick if I'm putting you in charge of this because of his rapport with the Browns. That's probably the pick, Taki. Patriots, I don't think we picked everyone. I think we picked Solomon Thomas, we picked the Bills, we picked Von Miller, and then we took Engold. So I think the AFC West we picked for every team. So yeah, NFC North, I believe we picked for every team except the Vikings. I think I picked a player from the Bears, I picked a player from the Lions. I don't recall picking a player from the Vikings because they run a 34 defense. So I think the Vikings still have, and I think that's where we're probably going to get our, we did not pick a player from the Cardinals. The Cardinals run a 34, so I'm thinking Petzling's our head coach. I think Petzling is going to be our head coach. I'm locking that in.
Petzling is a very smart coach. I love him. I love how he develops quarterbacks. I think he'd be smart.
I really just don't know who else we can hire among the coaches and GMs. So this is a challenge, and Joey, and the thing is, we're both in agreement on Petzling. We are both in agreement on Petzling. So
it's like if you're gonna hire a head coach in a very small pool, you want to take a guy that's not only been an offensive coordinator, but somebody who has a track record of getting the most out of quarterbacks. Petzling's the guy.
I agree. Our offensive coordinator is going to be Bill Callahan. He is technically the offensive line coach on Brian Callahan's team. So we are taking Brian Callahan. You have any objections to that? He's not a head coach. He's a coordinator.
My thought process is the only reason he left
Petzling can call the plays, but Callahan's like our assistant head coach.
Well, with Callahan, the only reason he left Cleveland is because he wanted to coach with his son.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to retire.
All right, so then who would be our coordinator? I'm looking at quarterback coaches. I'd pick Brunell, but we already picked for the Lions. So we got we can worry about that next week. We got the Titans, the Patriots, and the Vikings as 3 teams available. I did not pick a player for Atlanta or New Orleans. So Atlanta, the Saints coordinator, Clint Kubiak. No, he's a coordinator now, so we can't poach him away. We could go with him over. Petzing, but
Chris, you're forgetting a key factor here. You can put Clint Kubiak as your offensive coordinator.
But he's currently an offensive coordinator with the Saints. Wouldn't he stay in New Orleans unless he's promoted? What? We make him assistant head coach. If we make Kubiak assistant head coach, he leaves. That's how but Bieniemy left. That's how Bieniemy left the Chiefs. The commander said, Bieniemy, you are assistant head coach and offensive coordinator. So I think that's the route we go with Kubiak. Kubiak's now our assistant head coach and coordinator.
I was waiting for you to catch on to that. I knew you'd get it.
So I did find a loophole, thanks to Joey's patience, and it is Clint Kubiak as our assistant head coach. Can we make Brunell our passing game coordinator? Like, I'm just curious. No. Brunell's off limits. We already picked for the Lions. Sorry, I forgot. That's on me. That is on me. Just thinking, what can we do as far as defense goes? We have the Vikings. No, what about McCown? Would you be cool with McCown as OC, or would you prefer Kubiak? Because we can change that to McCown and we can get a better DC. I mean, or do you think we should just stick with Kubiak? What do you think about Kubiak? Yeah, let's just stick with Kubiak. More experience at OC. Let's not overthink this. But I'm willing to hire McCown as my quarterback's coach / passing game coordinator. So McCown gets to call plays during practice. That is what we'll do. So I know it sounds stupid, but that is what we're going to do. We promote McCown, but he is a PGC, passing game coordinator. That's what, see, because you promote McCown, but you keep, he doesn't call the plays. He just calls the plays in practice. So he's training to become an offensive coordinator. All right. Yeah. We're going to end the live stream here. I do not want to say, we'll save material for part 2. But yeah, I have an Excel sheet of this. And yeah, we're working on a expansion draft for the Austin X's. And we named them after Elon Musk changing the name from Twitter to X. The Austin X's. The Elon Musk NFL team. All right. We'll see you guys next week. This is going to take forever, and I need to get rounds 2 and 3 of the MLS draft done. This is just irresponsibility on my end. This is just me having fun. Wow, 20 viewers. People actually... I was about to end the live stream, Joey, but our viewership's increased from 17 to 20 because I think the NFL expansion draft is a lot of fun. It's engaging. Should I put the Excel chart on the live stream? Like, I actually have all the teams through an Excel chart. So we have Petzling as our head coach, Kubiak as our assistant head coach / OC, and McCown is our passing game coordinator. So McCown's still a QB coach, but he's in training to be a coordinator. So that's our offense so far. We need a defensive coordinator.
And quite frankly, that offensive staff scares the shit out of me. Because those are some really intelligent guys that know the offense, and they are all cool as a cucumber. That is the calm guys that scare me.
I could hire Joe Woods here, but that would just be a disaster. I would be roasted to oblivion and back for that shit.
I would roast you until you die.
Did we pick anyone from Dallas? Because if we hadn't, we can just hire Mike Zimmer. Or no, we're not going to hire Mike Zimmer. I'm just trying to think.
I love Mike Zimmer.
He's a defensive coordinator. I mean, but what other responsibilities could we give him in addition to defensive coordinator? Because he's not going to leave Dallas for an expansion team unless there's some incentive. That's the only objection to Mike Zimmer. I like Zimmer too, but what?
He was a head coach, was he not?
Yes. I guess we could make him head coach, but then that means we lose Petzling or Kubiak.
My thought is that means he has an ingrained approach to everything being done. What about run game coordinator?
We have the Patriots, the Falcons, and the Saints. I do not believe we picked a player for Dallas in the expansion draft. No, we did not. We did not pick a player for Dallas. So let's I'm going to go to the Cowboys coach.
When you say that, it's like, we still have like 4 teams left. I'm like, we have a lot of positions left.
We picked the Cardinals coach, head coach. I believe we took the Niners. Did we pick anybody from Seattle? I don't think we did. I think I took the Rams safety. I don't think we picked anyone from Seattle, Joey. So we are going to go into Seattle's coaching tree and figure out something here. Because they're in the playoffs. I think the Broncos. I don't think we picked anybody on the Broncos either. I'm double checking. I think we may have, but I forgot. It's like, no, we did not pick anybody from Denver. So Denver is on the table, I think.
Denver would be a.
Denver might be where.
Who's their defensive backs coach?
Because I know I thought we picked for Dallas, but I'm looking here. I'm double checking here. The teams that we picked for. We've already picked for the Vikings, so we can't hire Kubiak. We put Cam Robinson. So Kubiak or the Vikings, do we hire anybody? McCown's on the Vikings, so we have to replace McCown. So we have to replace McCown. Sorry. I love the idea in theory, but maybe this is where we get our defensive coordinator.
Maybe, because the thought is on the Broncos.
So McCown is safe. McCown is still in Viking in this scenario.
How about the youngest Kubiak?
Let's look at the Broncos and the Seahawks and see if because the Seahawks and Broncos or we could look at a GM. We could look at front office people too if we can't find a coordinator we love. All right.
I would not want Andrew Berry running my defense. So I'm not sure exactly how that would work.
I do not like any of the Broncos' defensive coaches outside of Joseph. I think Jim Leonard has potential, but he needs a little bit more experience. He's a passing game coordinator, defensive backs coach. Manuski's the linebacker coach. He's a good linebacker coach, but he's not a good play caller. And I think the other guys, you have Vitt, he's too old. Addison Lynch is a defensive quality control coach. He needs to coach a position. He's got potential, but he needs to coach a position. Shoemaker, same thing could be said. So we're going to pass on the Broncos for a defensive coordinator. Do they have a front office guy? Do the Broncos have an assistant GM that we can hire? Do they have a guy that we can hire, that we can poach away as our GM? Because I don't like any of the defensive coaches enough to say, you know what, that's our future. Here we go with the Broncos. Let's see. Administrative staff. So they do not list the let's see here. Damani Leach, George Paton's the general manager. I'm looking at all the front office positions. Paton, but they do not have scouts listed, and they do not have all right. So how do you feel about Ray Jackson? He is the vice president of player development for the Broncos. Ray Jackson. It's a familiar name. It's not a name I'm in love with, but it's probably the best we can do for Denver here. I'm just looking through the list of names here. Chip Conway's the senior. You know what? Let's go to Seattle. There's not a player. It feels like Paton's running the show. Let's go to Seattle and come back to Denver. There's nothing about Denver as far as coaching that I like. Maybe we get their special teams coach or something, but.
Yeah, because Denver is like they got some good scouts, but Sean Payton's really the one pulling the strings. So you really have to be. Really
dun 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 dun! Guess who the Seahawks assistant head coach is if Mike McDaniel gets fired? Leslie Frazier. I think we can legally poach him and make him defensive coordinator in this scenario. I know it's a demotion, but. I think that is legal. That is not against the rules because he is not.
Well, I'm not sure. I think that might be a lateral move because the only way you can go from a coordinator to a coordinator in one spot is to have an assistant head coach.
We'll go with management. If you don't think, we'll go with management. Let's see what we have for management here.
Well, my thought is if there's nothing saying you can't go from assistant head coach.
Let's go with. How do you feel about Jeff Dunn? He is the chief strategy officer for Seattle. He doesn't have like an official role as assistant GM, but I like the name Jeff Dunn. I think that's our GM.
He's a guy that has been an up and comer for a while.
We could also go with Nolan Teasley. Nolan Teasley's the assistant GM. Nolan Teasley's the assistant GM. We could go with him. He looked.
No, I like Dunn. Dunn has been in his position.
You like Dunn? I think it's Teasley or Dunn. I'm good with either one, and I will let you make that decision. I will let you make that decision. As my mentor and friend, I will let you make that decision because I'm cool with either guy.
Dunn has paid his dues. He has been the head of personnel for at least 2 different staffs and front offices.
I'm going to read his bio. He joined the Seahawks in 2013 and was promoted to chief strategy officer in 2023. So the first year Dunn got to Seattle, the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. That's our man. That is our man. Okay. And before that, he worked with the Portland Trail Blazers. He was the board of directors for the Trail Blazers. So not only did he work for Seattle, he worked for the Trail Blazers on the board of directors when they drafted Damian Lillard. That's our guy. That's our GM. This case is closed. Because not only did they get Lillard, they got McCollum too. Remember, CJ McCollum was the shooting guard after they drafted Lillard. So he had a role in getting Portland both of those guys. So that's our GM. Case closed.
I don't think people also realize if you're part of a board of directors, you are one of the top people in an organization. You know.
So board of director for a basketball team and chief of operations for a football team. That's a rare hybrid combo.
That's fucking go-to when it comes to.
So Jeff Dunn's our GM. That.
Yeah, absolutely.
And guys, if you're, I gotta, you know what? I gotta screen share this because it's like I've screen shared the predictions, but it's like this is how you build a football team. If you are an expansion team, this is how you build an NFL team. We are showing you how to do it. Now you just have to take our ideas and run with it. That is literally all you got to do.
Well, I'm not really worried about a professional team taking our ideas because billionaires are fucking idiots when it comes to knowing what to do with sports teams. And believe me, if
Yo, sweet, the screen share is on the thing because
back in the day, the Browns would not be in this position, and Jimmy Haslam would not be as villainized as he is. So, billionaires do not know football.
I'm looking at the Patriots coaching staff now. Is there anybody on Gerard Mayo's staff that is a future coordinator, or is there a front office guy working under Elliott Wolf that we can bring in as an assistant GM or something? That's really what I'm looking at here because I got to find the value in New England.
I thought they brought in a bunch of guys, they're all young guys except for Van Pelt.
The inside linebackers coach is Donta Hightower. He was kind enough to add me on Facebook. That's our defensive coordinator. I loved him as a player. Screw it. Let's roll the dice on Hightower. You have any objections to that? I think we're in agreement. Like, as we said at the same time. Like,
yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely.
Because our secondary is good enough to where it can make up for passing game deficiencies if Hightower has trouble. Like our cornerback room with White, with Isaiah Rodgers, and with White, Rodgers, and Samuel. If those three are healthy, along with MJ Stewart, and I like Hightower. Let's go with him.
Yeah, I did not know Hightower was...
He's the inside linebackers coach for New England. That is an under-the-radar hire by the Patriots. I got to give Kraft credit there. Like that.
So do I. It's like that is, that is an amazing hire. Shit, that explains why the Patriots linebackers are doing so well. I mean, right there. Like, their coach is one of the best linebackers coaches and one of the best linebackers as players that we've had in the NFL for 13, 15 years. So, yeah, that's amazing.
Great. I lost the window for the window that I'm using for Restream. I if I click on Excel, will it? Oh, here we go. Let's click on Excel. Good. It loads the expansion draft. I was gonna say if the expansion draft closed on us, I would have been pretty upset. But our defensive coordinator is Hightower. That's a great addition. I'm not doing that.
I just think that would be appropriate for that.
You know, we could technically make the Saints interim coach our special teams coordinator if he's not hired. We're going to do that. Because if the Saints are like, look, you're our interim coach, but you're not coming back after this coach. So, yeah, we're just going to make the Saints interim head coach. What is his name? That's our special teams coordinator. We don't have to worry about special teams. See? See how simple this is? Darren Rizzi. Darren Rizzi's our special teams coordinator. We are putting together quite the staff for Jeff Dunn. I mean, Petzling, Kubiak, McCown, Hightower, and Rizzi. That's our coaching room so far. I'm not saying it'll work, but I'm a lot more optimistic about this than some of the other teams in the league. Let's look at the Cowboys coaching staff.
There is something really obnoxious happening, and I just had to join in. So I ended up shaking my ass, and I didn't want you guys to hear or see that. So, you know.
It is what it is, Peter Griffin. Family Guy joke.
It was, but...
Whatever. Let's go with... the assistant head coach is Al Harris. I'd poach him away, but he's not leaving Dallas. Let's see. How would you feel about Greg Ellis as our run game coordinator? He's the assistant defensive line quality control coach. Greg Ellis, former defensive end, is the quality line control coach for Dallas. We hire him as a run game coordinator on defense.
I love Greg Ellis as a player, and I think as a defensive coach, he is amazing.
He's already a quality control coach and assistant defensive line coach, but he's not coaching any positions. So we can make him our D-line coach, Greg Ellis. We don't have to promote him to run game coordinator. We can give him D-line coach. He complements Hightower very well as far as front seven goes. He complements Hightower very well.
I was afraid you were trying to make him into...
Yeah, I jumped the gun a little bit, but then I realized there's potential there. And then I looked, he's an assistant D-line coach. He's not even coaching the D-line yet. Yeah, let's give him the D-line. He gets the D-line. Greg Ellis. There we go. So I'm just trying to think. Denver's the only team we have not gotten a player off of. So I think at this point, the only thing logistically we can do is get the defensive backs coach for Denver, no matter how bad they might be. Hold on. No, we never hired a replacement to Josh McCown at quarterbacks coach. So I guess let's see what the Broncos coaching tree. I think we just looked at the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, but here I think their offensive coaches are decent. Their defensive coaches.
There are only two sides of the ball that we can look at, so offensive or defensive. That does seem like it's a very...
Okay, their offensive coordinator is Joe Lombardi. Their running backs coach is Lou Ayena. Their senior offensive assistants, Peyton's old assistant, Pete Carmichael. They have Kiri Colbert, the former wide receiver, as their receivers coach. They have
I'm gonna go with you because
they have They have Davis. What? They have some young coaches. They have Kerry Colbert, a former wide receiver. They have Zach Streif, one of Peyton's former tackles, as the offensive line coach, and they have Davis Webb as the quarterbacks coach. How do you feel about Davis Webb in that passing game coordinator role that I mentioned for McCown earlier?
Passing game coordinator, I think Davis Webb is very good.
We can't get McCown since we already picked a Viking, but we could get Davis Webb as a passing game coordinator.
But also, I do want you to look at Joe Lombardi. He's a guy I really like.
He's the coordinator, but we already have I do like Lombardi too, but he's a coordinator, and we already have Kubiak. So I'm just not sure we can get Lombardi.
I didn't know he was a coordinator. I thought he was a coach.
Yeah, because Kubiak is the Saints offensive coordinator. Petzling is the Cardinals offensive coordinator, but we promoted Kubiak to assistant head coach if Petzling gets fired. That way we have two young coaches in the waiting if things go bad.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking.
I feel like we've addressed every team, but I am double checking. I'm double checking to make sure we've addressed every need here. Okay, we've addressed so NFL expansion draft, we've addressed 30 team needs. So because 2 through 31 is 30 if you count math. I believe that's correct. 2 through 11 is 10, 12 through 21 is 20, and I believe 22 through 31 is 30. So we've addressed we just have 2 teams left that we have not hired talent from.
Because I would take Davis Webb as the passing game coordinator. I've always loved Davis Webb. I loved him when he was with Cal. I loved him before he was with Cal. I loved him when he was with the Texans. I thought he had a great mind for the game. Unfortunately, his talent did not match his mind as a player. Shit happens.
We did not hire anybody from the Commanders. They're the one of the 2 teams that we have not hired talent from. How the hell have I'm somewhat of a screw up.
Chris, there's nothing to say we screwed that up. What positions do we have left?
We do not have a passing game coordinator. We have a front 7 guy. We have a linebacker and a front 7 guy. We do not have a passing game coordinator on defense. A defensive backs coach or passing game coordinator. We still have that. I'm looking at what the Commanders have. They have Tommy Donatell as their defensive backs coach. I don't think he's going to leave, but their assistant defensive backs coach is former Steeler William Gay. William Gay, you're our new secondary coach. William Gay, player, secondary coach.
You take William Gay, and he's one of my favorite under-the-radar players back in the day. But I was a Browns fan, so I couldn't exactly,
And we have one team left. And we're getting him as a defensive backs coach because we don't really have a defensive backs coach on the roster.
Well, we do now.
And we can make him because I think he's the assistant cornerbacks coach. So he's the defensive backs coach. He's not calling the plays, but he has the responsibility of micromanaging the secondary.
Believe me, I know that responsibility, and it ain't fun.
So yeah, all right, Coach Gay. What do we have left? We've hired a GM, a head coach, assistant head coach, QB coach, DC, special teams coordinator, D-line, D-backs coach. We have not picked a guard. So what team is left? But the challenge was to get players. Steelers, Vikings, Ravens, Bills, Browns, Packers. So I think we had the AFC North. I think we've cleared the AFC South. I think the Colts might be the lone wolf. I think the Colts. Yeah, I don't think we picked anybody from the Colts. We took Ryan Kelly from the Colts. We took Who do we took Muma. We took Kelly. I don't think we took anybody from Tennessee. That's right. Because we were going to hire Callahan, and then you said, no, he's not going to do that. So we have the Titans. Titans are what we have left. Titans. So we got the Titans. This is the last team.
You need an offensive guard, right?
Let's see what No, we're not going to pick players. The challenge was to pick the coaching staff, front office for the teams we didn't pick players for. We can get guards in the draft. We can get guards in the draft.
Yeah,
We want this to be like a challenge.
Yeah, I thought you said we needed a guard.
We did. I did not draft any guards. That was my bad. That was my bad here. But looking at the Titans, they're interesting. This is interesting. Looking at the Titans here, they I'm just thinking, what can we
What position are you looking at this point? You're looking at, every position.
I'm just looking at the Titans. I'm looking at the coaching staff. They have Chris Harris as their passing game coordinator. They have Frank Bush at linebacker. We already have Hightower. We have Ben Bloom, Denard Wilson, Steve Donatel. Lori Locust is the defensive quality coordinator. I don't know how you feel about her, but if we have to hire a female coach, if that's a requirement, we can hire her, I guess. She could be like the third down advisor or something. I don't know.
It's not a requirement. I don't even think I think the.
Let's look at front office. Maybe we'll find an assistant GM in Tennessee. I'm not confident, but let's see what the Titans have in the front office.
Well, we may, because I've heard the Titans have some really good front office people. They just aren't at the level.
We're gonna go for. How do you feel about this for our assistant GM, Chad Brinker? He is the president of football operations for the Titans. He's our assistant GM to done. I love the last name Brinker.
I would love that. But
he was already an assistant GM, but he got promoted to president of football operations. So,
he would be downgraded.
Yeah. Okay. What do we have? What do we have for Do we have to pick somebody from the business executive leadership branch? Because the football branch only has two guys. Carthen and Brinker are the only football guys. The business executive branch, the business executive leadership branch is Burke Hill's the president and chief executive officer. He's not leaving that role. Let's go with. We're gonna go with a woman for assistant GM. We are going to go with Haley Davidson. She is the chief of staff on the Titans. She oversees many facets, including driving alignment and leading the strategic operations, communication teams, key role in planning, vision, strategy for the new Nissan Stadium. She is our assistant GM. We are picking a woman to be assistant GM because she's damn good at her job. Boom. It doesn't matter your gender. If you're good at your job, you deserve to be promoted. We like Haley. We're promoting her.
She's great.
Well, who else can we get for the Titans? I mean, it's the last pick in the draft for an expansion team. Who else can we get from the Titans that might be good? She's our best shot, really. Okay. We could go over the other candidates if you'd like, but...
There are no other candidates. I'm just trying to make a point. I'm just saying, it doesn't matter when it comes to assistant general manager, whether you are a front office role or not.
She's also an advisor. She's also an advisor for the Nashville consulting firm Calvert Street Group. So she's an advisor. She actually is a consultant for I don't know if they're a group firm or a law firm or a government firm, but she's an advisor. She's an advisor for U.S. Rep Jim Cooper. So she's a communication aide for Jim Cooper. So she's got the politics background and the sports background. So that's a nice assistant GM.
That is happening. But the thing is, I was trying to say...
Well, I'll give you a few other candidates if you'd like.
Chris, for the law of company, let me finish my point.
All right.
The thing is, it doesn't matter for an assistant GM if you are an executive. It depends if you know the game.
I'll give you the other candidates to pick from. Haley's my front runner, but we'll go over the other candidates briefly. Can I please? Andrew McIntyre, Senior Vice President, Technology Innovation. The Chief Financial Officer, the Chief Revenue Officer, those individuals are not leaving their roles. They are the money people. The money people behind a team matter. The money people matter. It's Sport Management 101. Okay, the money people are not leaving money roles for assistant GM. They're just not. There's some communications people too. There's Savannah Howie, Manager of Communication Corporate Affairs. There's Travis McDaniel, Assistant Football Communications. Vin Marino is the Vice President of Football Administration. Is that a promotion or a demotion from Assistant GM? Vin Marino. Leela Taylor. Titans have some nice front office people. Okay, like I'm genuinely impressed. Anthony Robinson's their assistant GM. Their director of scouting's Brian Gardner. AJ Highsmith's a director of scouting. John Salge is director of college scouting. How about Dale Thompson? He's the assistant director of college scouting. Can we make Dale Thompson our college scout? Would you be cool with that? Or do you prefer Amy as assistant GM? It's your call. Last pick, I don't care. Last pick, it's the last pick of this team rebuild. I want your input. I do value your input. I know I talk a lot over you sometimes, but there's so many directions to go. And I was just looking at the money division. I wasn't really like weighing all my options. This is a big decision for the Titans. We have to take someone from the Titans to complete the expansion team. I'm cool with I'm cool with Dale Thompson as our director of college scouting. Let's read his bio. Let's see what we got, Joey. I know this has been a long day, but I think we got to read Dale Thompson's bio. He's in his 14th season with the Titans after his 14th season in the NFL with the Titans after spending the last 3 years in Seattle. Okay. Him and the GM have rapport. That matters. All right. Dale Thompson and Jeff Dunn probably know each other from their time in Seattle. So that's our director of college football scouting. That rapport, it matters when building a team, you know? We don't have to have an assistant GM. We can go with the director of scouting, you know? That's an important role. Because he's part of Schneider's staffs that drafted. That matters. I know it's a lot, Joey, but what grade would you give this rebuild? This is a hard thing to do. I mean, we'll go Dale Thompson for head scout. He's done. So that's the rebuild for the Austin X's. I'm done with this. We're ending the show. If you stuck around, thank you so much. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, please share. It's 6 p.m. I've been on this for 8 hours, and I still got to do rounds 2 and 3 of the MLS mock. So, yeah, and the end of Army Navy's on. So, yeah, we're going to end here. Thank you for joining, Joey. All right. I'm ending the show, but yeah. What do you want to add? I feel like we covered everything, and I think TalkShoe already disconnected us. It did, but yeah, so I don't know. I think TalkShoe disconnected us, but whatever. We'll just end it on Restream, and I'll promote both shows. You know, we can't worry about what's already been done. All right. Next week, safety rankings, much shorter show. Oh, and you'll get live feedback from the MLS Super Draft because the MLS Draft's at 3 p.m. But if I do not finish all my grades by 8 p.m., you'll get individual team grades for rounds 2 and 3 after the safety rankings. All right. We'll see you then. And you'll get week 17 too because week 17 starts on Christmas Day. So we are going to do a double shift next Saturday, probably. But then we get a fun week 18. We get to relax during the holidays. We can have week 17 off to just relax for the holidays and then come back. So if we do a double shift, we can take week 17 off. That'll be our vacation week. Wait, we have more comments in the chat room? Hey, homie. Oh, it's just a kick person. It's a kick person trying to promote me. I appreciate that, but it's like you're just using me to build my brand. And I don't appreciate being used. And this is not on Facebook Live.